Rabbi Abadie, welcome to Free Your Voice.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's nice to be with you.
It is nice to be with you as well. And I really am excited about today's conversation because it's not every day that I get to talk to a chief or senior rabbi. Uh, so tell me, Dr. Abadie, as well, what's it like being a rabbi?
Well, first and foremost, the person has to have an inner feeling of spirituality, of course, an inner feeling to help a community and to be a bridge between the Jewish community and other communities around. So this is the background of what's being a rabbi. Of course, a rabbi needs to be very knowledgeable and and the Torah and the Jewish literature and rabbinic literature, but also in other religious streams to be able to understand the religious milieu in which a community lives. Either you live in a Christian country or in a Muslim country or a Buddhist or Hindu's country. It's important for a Jewish religious leader, in this case the rabbi, to be able to be knowledgeable in many of those religious streams that humanity practices, to be able to communicate, build bridges, open doors, and understand the religious milieu that exists. After all, the rabbi, in one sense, is a religious leader, in another sense, is a community leader, and in a third sense, is the one who builds bridges with other religious leaders of other religions.
Well, you make it sound like it's easy, but it's not. It's kind of like that referee during a soccer match where all of these experts on the sideline tell them how to do their job. So do you have to develop some, and I learned this recently from a friend, do you have to develop some sort of like emotional Teflon where it just like bounces off of you and you don't absorb some of the attacks?
Absolutely. The thing is not just emotional Teflon. The thing is, a person, especially a leader, most of the time should use more his intellect than his emotions to reply to something, to interact with someone. Clearly, we have compassion, we have love, we have sadness when necessary. But when we make a decision, we always use our intellect and our fund of knowledge to see, is this the correct, right, logical response, with consultation, so to speak, with one's heart to see if it's something that the person, humanity, can take emotionally. So yes, we cannot be emotional immediately and feel insulted or rejected or unloved or things like that. But we ought to use our intellect first and foremost, and then connect, consult with our heart, and be able to come up with a response.
I love what you just said there, and I'm going to highlight that you need to use intellect. But why isn't it that more of us use that? I refer to it as like that definition of insanity, that we keep doing it this same way, and political leaders keep doing it the same way, and even some religious leaders recognizing that it's not changing anything. So how do we, let's call it in a perfect world, um, what's the first step, or what's the step for us to get along?
Well, I think the first step is to understand that we are the children of one God. It is the same God for all of us. We all call him in a different names and different ways, but it's the same God, is one God who created the world and the universe, is one God who created us. We are all the children of one God. In a simile, we are kind of one family with a parent, and we are all brothers and sisters. And so, if we know that that is the same thing with our own family, our father, our parent would not want us to be fighting if we are brothers and sisters. And if we are brothers and sisters, not only we ought not to fight, but we ought to help each other, to understand each other, to be there for each other, no matter how each brother or sister has different thoughts, different beliefs, and things like that. But at the end, we are one family, children of one parent. And so if we see that, if we understand that, then there could be no racism, no matter what color you are, no
So
matter
is
what.
that really the fundamental beliefs of Judaism, or is that your own kind of take on? Look, I'm a bridge builder.
No, no. That is the fundamental belief that there was one creator, there is one creator who created all of humanity. We all came from Adam. Adam was the first human, and therefore from him everybody came. the Chinese, the Americans, the South Americans, the Africans, the Europeans. We all came from one single father, which is Adam. And of course, our greater father in heaven is God. And so that's our belief. That's what the Bible says, and that's what we believe in. And so, if that's the case, then how could we be racist against our brother or sister that is from a different color? How could we be? We came from the same gene, so to speak. How could we be racist to somebody from a different country, or discriminate against them? We can. They are our brothers. And so that's a fundamental belief in Judaism, and that's a fundamental belief that really all of humanity can believe and should believe in. And once we have that, then we understand, how can I be against my brother or my sister? How can I kill them? How can I fight against them? Let us find a way in which each one is respected, each geographical area is respected, each custom is respected. After all, they are my brothers and sisters, and our Father is watching us.
I love how you said that. So I'm not going to name the religious sect that I grew up with when I was little, but I will tell you that the mentality of it was this turn or burn. We're the good guys, you're the bad guys. The Bible's very clear. It's sending large groups of people to an eternal damnation. That makes it very hard for the next generation to want to continue in that sort of belief. Do you think those beliefs are healthy?
I don't believe those beliefs are healthy, and I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to, but be that as it may, I always have said, and you may have heard it from me in the past, that religion does not discriminate against people and does not cause separation with people. Religious people do that, not religion itself. Religious leaders do that. And unfortunately, throughout history, we have seen religious leaders from many religions that have caused this discord with another people from another religion just because either for personal gain, for personal religious gain, for personal political gain. And so religion does not separate people and does not discriminate with people. They are the religious leaders who claim to be representing whatever religion they are representing that cause this discord, this separation for personal or for communal benefits.
So, religious leaders, those that have put themselves in a position where others have elevated them, don't they come with some sort of higher standard or should? You turn on, the internet at times, you can see some of these religious leaders and the way that they live, and they've got their castles and they got their Bentleys and they got their big watches. Um, that can't be good.
It's true. Religious leaders are responsible. And just let me say something about emotions again. Unfortunately, many of those religious leaders throughout history, and even in our times, use those emotions to rile up their people against other people. But intellectually, if that intellect is used, that would not happen. It's their emotions. But unfortunately, many leaders, instead of doing good, they want people to feel good. And so sometimes when you make people feel good, but they're not doing good, because unfortunately, humanity, we know that they tend to do things to make them feel good, even though it's not doing good. And that's very, very important. But yes, look, if a religious leader has enriched himself in a legal, moral, and ethical way, then let's be him. Yeah, let him be rich. Let him have a Bentley. Let him have money. But if he enriched himself not in a legal way, in an illegal, amoral, unethical way, in a way in which he took the money of his followers in a way that make them feel that giving him is going to bring salvation, then of course that enrichment is unacceptable. But if a religious leader has a business and did moral things and legal things, ethical things, and he enriched himself, God bless him. That's fine. It's the way a person accrues those riches, and that goes not only for a religious leader, for any person. If the way you accrue your riches is illegal, amoral, and unethical, then that's not good. But if you do it in a moral, legal, and ethical way, that's a blessing from God.
So, defining morals and ethics. Many years ago, I heard, and he's a bit of an angry man, but he said something really profound. And he said that morals and ethics swing in the wind. I mean, you can go on TikTok or Instagram or any social media platform, and you can see individuals wearing crosses or the Star of David or some religious thing around their neck. And yet, what they're doing is contrary. So, how do we even define morals and ethics? Because what you think is right, someone else says is wrong. Someone else says is right, you say is wrong.
So you are right by saying that morals and ethics swing in the wind only the morals that humans have established and ethics that humans have established. And that unfortunately goes by the era, by the fad, and by the fashion of the day. But we're not speaking about morals and ethics that humanity establishes because we know those change. We are speaking about morals that the Almighty God has given us through the Bible and through His teaching. Those morals are absolute morals, and those morals will never change in a sense to please one side or to please the other. Those morals are based on ethics of divine ethics and divine morals, and those don't change. When it says thou shalt not steal, or thou shalt not kill, or thou shalt not lie, these are absolute morals. Unfortunately, what humanity did this is, well, thou shalt not steal. If it's my friend, I will not steal from my friend, but from my enemy I could steal. That the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says clearly, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not covet. And these
Good,
are
good salad. By the way, those are good, solid things to live by.
solid
Like,
and
yeah.
absolute. And humanity cannot change it, but unfortunately, as I said, humanity have changed these things by saying everything is relative. I can steal from an enemy but not from my friend. I mean, in fact, there was a poll taken of high school students a few years ago here in the United States saying, can you steal a pen from a friend? He said, well, from a friend, no, but someone who's not my friend, I could steal from him, that's okay, or I could lie to them, or I could kill what I consider to be my enemy or somebody who I don't like. So that relative moral and ethics human is not right. We have absolute morals and ethics dictated by
So
God, by the Bible.
I like what you said there, and it kind of triggered. I remember many, many years ago, I had a business partner, and he had said to me on one occasion that he said that it's not lying as long as there is no expectation of trust if you don't know the person. But what if we all lived like that? What if that was the collective mentality?
Well, it will be a disaster. I mean, in fact, unfortunately, I think the majority of people do live with that collective mentality, in which it's called, I can lie to him as long as I don't hurt him, or I could lie to him as long as he doesn't know me. But that, of course, is not correct. And yes, that's why we have the world that we live in, where there are wars, there is fallacies, there are lies, and there is a lot of hypocrisy because of that. Because humans unfortunately hold by, you could lie to someone who's not your friend, and that's incorrect, of course.
So we hear people from time to time shout and scream regarding freedom of speech. And I'm all for freedom of speech, but shouldn't you first have an internal temperature to be able to find a balance of knowing what to say and how to articulate it? So, what are your thoughts on freedom of speech? Is it under attack, or is it the way that we communicate that gets judged?
Well, of course, freedom of speech is sacrosanct up to a point. And the point is, freedom of speech should not give the right of a person to insult somebody else, or the right of a person to incite against somebody else, an individual, a community, a religion, or a nation, or a people. That's not freedom of speech. When in a freedom of speech you're calling for the murder of somebody, or the murder of a community, or the murder of an entire people and nation, that is not freedom of speech, should not be freedom of speech. In fact, the Bible tells us very well that you ought to be very, very careful with your speech, never to speak evil tongue, never to say something bad about somebody else, never to curse somebody, never to say utter a falsehood. So freedom of speech has its limitation. Unfortunately, in some countries that we have, that limitation has been taken completely off, and then there is chaos and mayhem. But freedom of speech, yes, it's guaranteed, but that freedom of speech does not guarantee call for hate, call for incitement, insulting somebody's religion, nationality, or who they are. You could speak anything you want, but not with those results.
Does it ever surprise you how grown-ups, now I can understand children not knowing this, but how many grown-ups don't realize the internet never forgets? That they post something online, they post their opinions, their thoughts, everything is in their head. They like vomit it out. It's there forever.
Well, until they erase it, but if somebody saved it, it still is there forever. Of course, even before the internet. I mean, our tradition tells us in the Ethics of the Fathers, the Jewish famous book of morals and ethics, says that there is a listening ear, there's an eye that sees, and there is a hand that writes everything, right? So that's basically speaking about the Almighty in heaven, that all our actions that we do, and this book is 2,300 years ago that says that. So basically, everything is being written, everything's being seen, everything's being heard. Right now, we have the internet and all our gadgets, but in those days they didn't have that, and yet everything that is said is being seen, heard, and is being documented. So yes, we ought to be aware of that, independently of the internet, independently of our gadgets, because when we utter a word, that word reverberates and has consequences with or without the internet. So we knew that thousands of years ago in our tradition, and every human ought to know that. So that way they know what they said, they know what they write, they know what they opine, and so hopefully they'll be more careful.
I heard, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Has it changed over the years for you and the people that you meet and the people that you're guiding, the people that they call friends? How do you define a friend? And should we let relationships go? Should we get rid of toxic people in our lives?
Well, it is true. I think it's still true that show me your friend and I tell you who you are, or show me a friend and I tell you what your future is. That's absolutely true, even true more today than before, because now with all those friends in Facebook or in Instagram, followers, you have thousands and millions for some people. And those people can definitely influence you as they interact with you through the internet, and that definitely affect a person. And yes, what's a good friend? A good friend is somebody who is going to help you, is going to be there for you, is going to give you good advice, but more importantly is who is going to tell you when you are wrong and tell you, Dustin, this is incorrect. You ought to do it better. Because he is or she is your friend, they're the ones who are going to tell you when you are wrong. And you want them to do so, because otherwise they're not your friends. A friend is somebody who cares about you, who cares about your benefit, who cares about your well being. So if he sees you doing something wrong that is going to affect you and affect society, that friend should tell you you're doing something wrong. So that is what a friend. But unfortunately, again, in our society, if a friend tells us we're doing something wrong, oh, we don't like him anymore. And because we want our friends to tell us exactly what we want to hear, that we're doing everything right, especially amongst teenagers. When friend sees another friend doing drugs or doing committing a crime, that friend should tell him, no, my friend, you should not do that. It's not good. You should not do that. But unfortunately, no, I'm his friend. I have to cover for him. I'm his friend. I'm not going to tell his parents. I'm not going to tell his other friends that he's doing drugs, he's doing something wrong. That's not a friend. That's an enemy, unfortunately.
Well said. And as we now close out the show, forgiveness. I heard that a mind that lives in the past, it builds a prison around itself and it locks it within. We have all hurt others in some way. We've all left a ripple, if we know or subconsciously it happened. How do we let go and how do we forgive? And how do we become a better version of ourselves for 2024?
Forgiveness is a attribute that God has, and therefore we ought to imitate God, imitate Deo. He is a forgiving God, He is a compassionate God, and therefore we ought to be the same. It's not a question of turning the other cheek, it's a question of understanding that whatever comes to us, right, in a sense, we accept. And of course, on one hand, we have to defend ourselves if we can defend ourselves. But if it's something that is not defending ourselves, a friend did something wrong to us, a friend spoke bad about us, from our part, you know what? Let me forget and forgive and move on. because on the psychological level, if we harp this animosity, this bad feeling is going to affect us physically and psychologically. We're going to get sick, right? So for our own benefit could be that we ought to forgive and forget. But on a divine level, God says, if you are forgiving, I will be forgiving with you. If you're not meticulous about something, doing something wrong, then I'm not meticulous with you doing something wrong. The same way you forgive, I will forgive you. So that's the importance of forgiveness. Clearly, law and order has to be followed, but on a personal level, that forgiveness is very important for our own selves and for the divine realm.
Thank you so much, Rabbi, for freeing your voice.
Thank you.